So, one of the things that has been a blessing in my career so far is that I've been able to get to know a lot of people who are highly successful in different domains, whether that's like business or the arts or sports, even. And getting to know these people has taught me an immense amount about myself and also just about life. But not only because I got to know them, but also because I got to observe them in their element, whatever that is. Whether that's a great artist or a multimillionaire business guy, and I've sort of observed these commonalities amongst them that I think are really valuable in terms of lessons for myself, and maybe for whoever's watching this. And one of the lessons that I sort of distilled into this phrase that I say a lot these days, is you can't outcompete someone who is having fun. And I kind of want to explain what I mean by that. The thing that I've observed about these highly successful people or these highly prolific people is they have this capacity, this appetite, or stamina to do a large amount of work. They are willing to do hundreds of hours of work in a week. And I think the reason isn't because they have this like enormous muscle for just grinding it out. I think it's because the work to them is genuinely easy. And I don't think it's easy because they're, geniuses or so brilliant that, creating high quality work is just like trivial for them. I think it's because they find the work easy. And when I've really tried to observe this and understand this, I think it all comes from the fact that in order to really do high quality work, you have to find meaning in the work itself. So I kind of sort of like explain it like this. Work needs to be meaningful. And when that work is meaningful, the meaningful work is rewarding. And rewarding work is fun. And then fun work is easy. And you can't and like I've said before, you can't outcompete someone who's having fun. So that's sort of like the frame that I like to think about. And I think it also connects to burnout, which I might discuss in a different video. But I think this idea of searching for meaning in your work in order to ultimately find that meaningful work fun, in order to do that work in a way that feels easy, is a frame that I think can be valuable. And this is something that I repeatedly come across in people who are highly successful, whether that is like, they work in business and they're like, I don't know, developing some, business to business software in the entrepreneur space, all the way to people who make great music. The thing that I just keep noticing is that the work feels easy and they're willing to put hundreds and thousands of hours into it, in a relatively short amount of time. I think that when you notice or observe people, willing to work like 16, 18-hour days, there's this sort of glorification of the grind. This idea that they're really gritting their teeth and just like muscling through 18 hours of work. But I actually don't think that is even possible unless the work itself is nourishing. And I think the only way to have work that is nourishing is to find it meaningful. And when you find that work meaningful, it's not only that you can do 18 hours, 18-hour days, it's that you actually want to work. You wake up and if it gives your life meaning, then you actually want to do it. And that is a completely different frame of work. Your relationship to work completely changes. And it changes how you even understand the idea of work-life balance, for example, because your work is also your life in some ways, because you draw meaning from it. It's not work isn't this black hole that feels meaningless, and the rest of your life, quote unquote, is the thing you draw meaning from. Your life and your work are one and the same in many ways, because you draw meaning from your work life in the same way that you might draw meaning from your life. And if you can find equal parts if you can find equal parts meaning in both your life and your relationships in your life, but also your work, you can create a really nourishing life in all areas, and you never really have to have a question about work-life balance. You might have to have a question about rest and tiredness, but not about work-life balance or not being able to find nourishment in your work. So that's just an interesting thing that I've really just observed across all the domains of successful people that I've been blessed to be able to know and also just observe in their element. And that's my thought for today.